Future global food production. What methods will we depend on? By the year 2050, it is projected that the human population will reach 50 billion people. By then, will organic farming be a significant source of food? Will more people be practicing sustainable agriculture? What about new technologies? Will they be implemented to aid in the efficiency of food production? Genetically modified organisms. Can they be useful to us in the future? Could producing animals and plants with advantageous genes be a health risk to potential consumers? Or will corporate industries continue to dominate over local producers? I'm Arielle, and these questions have been on my mind for a while now. It's easy to be persuaded by the opinions of those who are passionate about public interest, especially on the topic of food, since we all gotta eat.
The following video reflects views of both the public and scientists on potential application of transgenic research for sustainable agriculture. No animals were harmed for the production of the film. Viewer discretion advised.
Since the 70s, scientists' work regarding food modification has raised public concern. Thus, the Green Revolution inspired people to change their lifestyles to lessen their impact on the world. Nowadays, many people buy organic products, recycle, and support sustainable agriculture. But what exactly is sustainable agriculture?
In words, I would define sustainable agriculture as the growth of or raising of animals, or growth of crops that are minimally harming the ecosystem.
Everything you have and you use, you're kind of recycling energy and food.
It's food that has a minimal impact on the environment, so that it doesn't use artificial fertilizers. It tries to maintain the soil quality and animal quality for animal health too.
Do sustainable agriculture and transgenic organisms have a future together? Transgenesis is the creation of an organism that possesses a gene taken from another organism. This technique stems from biotechnology, a study that focuses on integrating biological and engineering sciences for modifying and improving living systems. One reason why scientists are excited about this research is because of the unlimited gene sources at their disposal for purposes of addressing universal problems. If bred, transgenic animals increase genetic variation within a population, as well as confer the desirable trait to their offspring. To get a better understanding of the significance of this technique to scientists, I met up with a researching professor from UC Davis.
There are no transgenic animals on the market anywhere in the world at this time.
But what does the public believe?
I can see the benefits of it, specifically in places where food is not accessible.
We're probably eating it not knowing that we're eating it.
What keeps transgenic food products off the market?
It's mostly because they've been slow in development. Most countries of the world don't actually do this kind of work. But those that do, because of regulatory issues, it's a case that the regulatory agencies haven't developed the protocols that they need to use to assess the safety of these animals. In part is because of opposition of citizen groups.
Now we can really mess up genomes, and we just introduce unknowns and uncertainties, and that creates a lot of fear in people.
But I think more and more as we understand more, as we've learned more in the last 25 years, that the incidence of those sorts of things is reduced. But there is always a possibility that a gene, depending upon what the gene is, that it could in fact impact the animal in a negative way. And that's something that scientists have to look at and try to minimize, which we do.
Do you think science should have bounds? Do you think there should be boundaries to what people should explore in science, or the uses that they come up with?
I think it's. I think people need to determine whether that's where we want to go. But I don't think that you can do anything to stop it. If there's a financial incentive to build superhuman soldiers, there will be countries that will do that. So just because we can pass a law against it doesn't mean it won't happen.
Well, I think clearly there needs to be boundaries on applications. And those are defined both culturally and morally by the communities that people live in. Remember, science is the creation of knowledge. Application of that knowledge is dependent upon the people and the environment and the community. And there's always going to be people who try to misuse things for their own benefits at all levels, and that isn't an excuse not to do science.
Will people use transgenic products one day?
Potentially. If a good argument is made and there's enough scientific evidence that something is safe, then potentially yes. But I definitely spend more, I think, than your typical American. I know that organic products cost more, but I know that and I'm okay with that. So I'm willing to spend more.
First thought, usually genetically modified. First thought, for me, can't speak for anyone else, is more like, fear. Like, maybe there's some weird thing that might affect me or affect my cells later. But that just comes from ignorance and not knowing.
But who knows what is really good for us? For now, people can choose where their food products come from. Hopefully, in the future, we will have just as many options.
Do you see this country or potentially the world relying more on that type of agricultural production system in the future?
I think it'd be impossible to do that.
Why?
Because just as population grows, the amount of food or calories per acre is on a sustainable level. It's very difficult to reach the food needs of the world. I mean, that's a real problem with population. The state is blessed with a lot of agricultural land and a lot of square footage of good soil and water, but not all countries are blessed with that.